SpaceX is building GigaBay to build thousands of Starships a year. Representative Eric Burlison just confirmed that UFO whistleblower David Grusch will continue working with him in his congressional office into the new year. A chemical engineer has re-examined the Shroud of Turin and concluded that its faint body image is best explained by a short, intense burst of radiation. A new review of evidence concerning Three-Eye Atlas. These stories and more on Exopolitics Today, the Week in Review.
You're listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla, your source for the uncensored truth regarding the human, extraterrestrial, global, and political agenda. Click the like button and subscribe to this channel. And now, here's Dr. Michael Salla.
Happy New Year, everybody. Hope you had a great New Year's celebration. It is January 3rd. This is the first week in review for 2026. And hopefully we are going to have a big year for disclosure. Now, just as a reminder, today, this afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we also will be doing our first monthly live briefing, and that'll cover the previous 6 weeks. So what I'm going to do in this week review, it's going to be a little bit shorter. Any stories that I'm going to discuss in the monthly briefing, I will just let you know that I'll be discussing that in more detail in the monthly briefing. So let's begin with the first story, and this is a geopolitical story concerning a report by the Duran that is that really focuses on geopolitics, and they were saying, or they identified, Britain's MI6, that's its premier intelligence organization for international affairs, equivalent of the CIA, that it's playing a key role in a dirty war against Russia using assassinations, sabotage being carried out by the Ukrainians. And the Duran describes a recent statement by the new head of MI6, Blaise Metroelli, saying that Britain needs to brush up its dirty war tactics that were first used or developed during World War II. And so you have incidents such as the recent assassination of Lieutenant General, a Russian serving in the general staff in Moscow was killed. And so the crucial question is, why would Britain's MI6 be provoking Russia by playing a key role in a dirty war that and signal that more is on the way? Why would MI6 be provoking a nuclear-armed Russia in a way that precipitates a nuclear war that drags in the USA? So this is where we get into a topic that I'm going to discuss in more depth in the monthly briefing, which is President Putin saying that Russia is at war with international Satanism. And so that then leads to the question of what is the connection between international Satanism and this kind of like dirty war that is now being conducted by Britain's MI6 on Russia, and that's going to actually get worse. Here is another story that I'm going to be covering in the monthly briefing, and that is Elon Musk's and SpaceX's plans to build a massive Starship production facility, actually two of them, one in Texas and one in Florida. So let me play you the clip where he talks about this GigaBay.
That's our GigaBay. So we're expanding integration to produce 1,000 Starships per year. Well, yeah, that hasn't been built yet, but we're building it. That is a truly enormous structure. This will be that'll be one of the biggest structures, I think by some measures, the biggest structure in the world. And it's designed for 1,000 Starships a year. We're also building a GigaBay in Florida, so we'll have 2 facilities, one in Texas and one in Florida. It's actually difficult to gauge the size of these buildings because you need a kind of human for scale. When you see how tiny a human is next to that building, you realize just how enormous it is. That's our GigaBay.
Okay, so there you get an idea of this plan of Elon Musk's SpaceX to build enough starships, up to 1,000 starships a year. And that really does suggest that Musk's SpaceX has been given the green light that we are going to become an interplanetary society. Exactly what that means in terms of the truth concerning suppressed technologies, secret space programs, and so forth, that is what we'll be doing a deep dive into for my monthly briefing later today. Right, so here is a succinct explanation for why silver prices are going through the roof. Now, Jordan Sather, he has, I thought, done a good job in summarizing why it is silver is exploding and some of the new technologies that are coming. So let me play you that video clip. I think it's...
Let's talk about this shiny metal, silver. You like my Tesla coin? That's not a Bitcoin chart. That is silver's price action going back a few months. It has been breaking records every day for weeks. Why is silver going to the moon? Well, energy. Nuclear, solar, and batteries. And countries know this, so China, for instance, starting January 1st, in just a few days, is now going to make companies require a government license to export silver. A couple months ago, the US government added silver to its critical mineral list for national security reasons, namely for those energy issues, because silver is very conductive and it's being used in a lot of emerging energy technologies. For instance, Samsung here last year released a brand new battery. It's a solid state battery that uses a lot of silver per battery. And if this were to be put in cars, electric vehicles would get 600-mile range on one charge, and they would be able to charge 80% in like 10 minutes. Also, nuclear. Silver plays a crucial role, not just in nuclear fission technologies, but we've got nuclear fusion emerging, about to hit the market. Generators are getting constructed and about to be turned on, not just in the US, but China and around the globe. Silver is used in a lot of the components for fission and fusion. And it's not like the White House has been signing executive orders this year to deploy advanced nuclear reactor technologies for national security. Plus, we just had Trump's media and technology company just announce a merger with a nuclear fusion company. And the Army is about to begin deploying small modular reactors, SMRs, at various bases of theirs. Nuclear tech around the globe is about to blow up. Another enter technology silver is needed for is solar panels. But what's about to emerge with solar panels is not solar panels on the ground. It's solar panels in space. We're talking space-based solar power. And speaking of, Nikola Tesla beaming energy wirelessly via radio waves. This is also about to emerge over the next 5-10 years or so, and countries and companies around the globe are going to be just rushing to put satellites in space with giant solar panels on them to beam that electricity back down to the surface.
Okay, so you got an idea there of why the price of silver is exploding, as is platinum and palladium, because they have these industrial applications for these new or emerging technologies. And so, yeah, you've got the 600, 700-mile car nuclear fusion that's going to be released. And, of course, these giant solar panels that will be placed in space, all requiring silver and these other precious metals to be built. So we are definitely going to experience some major technological innovations going mainstream over the next few years, and precious metals are part of that. Well, here's a report on that was done by Byron Belitsas on signs of benevolent extraterrestrial intervention. So what Byron did was he wrote a special report on the GFL station, which has been releasing daily videos on YouTube about different extraterrestrial civilizations communicating with humanity. And there are approximately 8 to 10 human channelers, including the founder, David Nichols, who is a self-described Canadian mystic. And these daily videos, sometimes you get, often you get 2 coming out in a day. They use voiceover artists to create soothing, inspiring messages that have led to the rapid growth of GFL station, which is surpassed 150,000 subscribers. So pretty soon they're going to hit that 200,000 mark. And yeah, the messages from GFL station was something that Byron Belitsas wanted to study in depth. So he wrote a special report which he titled "Reading the Signs of Benevolent ET." So this is something we discuss in this interview, and we go over a number of subjects covered by the GFL station, which really is having a powerful transformative effect on a lot of people, including myself. When I first started listening to it, I was actually recuperating in a hospital in Miami for 2 weeks after that poisoning incident. And it really did help. I mean, if you're kind of like trying to recover from something, the focus being clearly on developing a connection with the higher self, the heart center, and so forth. That is very important information if you're trying to overcome any serious illness, or you're dealing with sort of emotional issues. And more generally. So, yeah, definitely it is a very significant channel. And, of course, there are people that take the approach, well, all channeling is fake. It's transmitted from satellites that are in orbit, that are controlled by the CIA, that are using mind control techniques. So don't believe any channeling. Well, the truth is that, you got your bad channeling. You got people who are picking up noise and thinking that they are really in touch with Commander Ashtar or with prominent extraterrestrials from different civilizations. But you've also got good channeling. You also got channelers who are very accurate. And so I think you need to really kind of like separate the wheat from the chaff when it comes to channeling. And so the GFL station definitely does have a lot of quality channeling on it. And that's what Byron Belitsas acknowledges, and what we discuss in our interview. Right. Well, here is something concerning David Grusch, who, of course, came to prominence when he spoke at a 2023 congressional briefing and shared what he knew about UFO crash retrieval operations and recovery of non-human intelligence in those operations. So here is an update about Grusch, who has been working with Congressman Eric Burlison as a senior aide in his office, and apparently he is going to continue to do that. So let's just listen to what is said here.
He's a colleague of mine, and you told him that Grusch probably was going to stay until next year as well. Do you guys have any like planned schedule or any type of strategy to move forward over the next 6 months or so?
Yeah, Grusch has been a tremendous asset to my team. And I want to make it very clear and clarify that Grusch works for my office. He does not work for the committee itself. That's the only way that we were able to pull this off. But he works for my office, and he's been providing tremendous guidance and insights as an advisor in this topic. Grusch helped us write the interrogatives, the letters that we sent to the CIA, that we sent to the Aerospace Corporation, and the Navy as well. And Grusch is going to continue to help in that regard. I think we have got some more letters that we're putting together. We've already had a briefing from the Aerospace Corporation in a secure setting. What I can say is that it really didn't turn up anything whatsoever. But at least we got a response, and they took the time to fly to DC to meet with us in person. So, and that was kind of a good indicator that these companies do take these letters seriously, and hopefully we can continue in that and try to get down to at least get some answers. In addition, Grusch has been helpful for me when it comes to the language that we're working on, the UAP Disclosure Act. We attempted to try to get that onto the National Defense Authorization Act at the end of this year and got very close to getting it added to the bill. That's a whole nother story. I could go into great detail about that process, but in the last hearing, you could tell that I was frustrated. Whenever I had my 5 minutes, I expressed that just the previous night, the Rules Committee had determined that my amendment was not germane or was.
All right, so there you have Eric Burlison saying that David Grusch will continue to work in Burlison's congressional office, and that he's been very helpful in drafting interrogatory letters worded specifically for different corporations or government entities to find out exactly what they know about the UFO topic, and of course advising Burlison and others on what's really going on. So I think that's a very important thing, because there's definitely been a decision to sideline Grusch by the deep state or those in control, or they call them the legacy UFO group, that there has been an attempt to kind of like silence him by denying him security clearances so that he can talk to members of Congress and about what he knows. But nevertheless, there's been a workaround by getting him to work in the office of a congressman, and that's really to the credit of Eric Burlison to have done that. Okay, so here's one of the incoming technologies that's driving up the price of silver that Jordan Sather mentioned. And this is a very interesting article here by the BBC. It's quite a lengthy article, but it describes how these solar panels that will be put into space will convert solar energy into laser or microwaves and beam that back to Earth to receivers, which then reconvert those lasers, those high-powered lasers or microwaves into electrical energy that can power a car. So you can imagine that at some point that you could have something like a flying car with the necessary receiver in it being powered directly by a laser or a microwave that is being sent to it by one of these orbiting satellites with these solar panels attached to it. That's the connection to Tesla, Nikola Tesla, that Jordan Sather talked about, because Tesla was talking about how you could have flying vehicles, or you could receive energy being received directly from space. So here's my interview with Sherry Divband, and we discussed her contact experiences what she knows about soul tracking technology. That is something that I think is very, very relevant when we're talking about children and star seeds, that there is a way for the deep state and even extraterrestrials to track incoming souls from other solar systems or even other galaxies, I guess, who choose to incarnate on Earth to help humanity's evolution. And these are children, as you would expect, being souls from other worlds and so forth, that they would be very highly evolved with lots of gifts, which indeed many of them have, but they would be tracked and also be interfered with. So we talk about that and how to protect children from this kind of nefarious tracking and interference. And Sherry Devan's been working with children and animals for decades now, and definitely her work has been very, very helpful and changed the lives of hundreds and hundreds of children. And of course, she's also been very involved in helping animals, different animals, and working at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C., again, helping animals. So definitely well worth listening to that interview with Sherry. Here is a story about a recent study of the Shroud of Turin that used high-resolution photographs and modern image analysis. And what they found was that the Shroud of Turin was created by a very short, intense burst of radiation. That the faint body image is the result of an intense burst of radiation rather than a painting of some kind. That does suggest that this was a shroud that was actually placed over the body of a man who had just died, and apparently there was some kind of radioactive emulsion coming from this person. And so some people would say, well, this is associated with the resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth, which has always made the Shroud of Turin a object of great interest to the religious community. And of course, the Vatican, I believe, is in control of it today. Now, what immediately came to mind with this new discovery is a claim by Stewart Swerdlow that during the Montauk Project, when he was being used as a child in time travel experiments, he was asked to go back in time to gather the DNA of Jesus while he was dying on the cross, and that the DNA he recovered was then taken to Mars for cloning. And the plan was, and Stewart has repeated this on multiple occasions, that in future they would be able to clone a Jesus with the genetics that would match the Shroud of Turin. And so that does suggest that, well, there are still plans to pull off a fake second coming using a cloned Jesus whose DNA will match the shroud, and the religious community will just accept it. I mean, that'll be quite something to see if it happens. Now, here is something that was pointed out by Dr. Horace Drew, and he reviews the evidence concerning 3i Atlas, and he looks at this photo. This photo was leaked, apparently, by a project called Cassandra, which is a highly classified military telescope that imaged 3i Atlas before its official discovery in July of 2025 and released it. And so what you see here in this apparently leaked image is multiple jets coming out of 3i Atlas, and it looks like some kind of spacecraft that is moving through our solar system. And so, according to Dr. Drew, the close resemblance between the Cassandra image and more recent images of 3I Atlas taken by amateur astronomers suggests that this is genuine, that this is an authentic leak from a classified telescope used by the military that photographed 3I Atlas well before its official release. Now, Dr. Drew relates this to Jeremy Corbell talking about an alien spaceship heading slowly for Earth, that would actually be part of some kind of false flag event. Now, what I think you should, or what we can add to this cover-up of 3I Atlas being a spacecraft of some kind, as this kind of like very incriminating photo suggests, is that there's also evidence that 3I Atlas actually is has been transmitting signals that have been blocked by NASA. And so that's something I will talk about more in my monthly briefing. So there are different elements of 3I Atlas that are being blocked from public perception that are very important to consider. Okay, Stewart Swerdlow talks about, in our latest interview, he talked about a number of aspects of the Montauk Project. And one of the things that is worth pointing out was that he described how, or confirmed that out of approximately 300,000 children that were used in the Montauk program, only a handful survived. So I'm going to play this short that we have released on our social media of Stewart Swerdlow talking about this. Now, is it accurate that up to 300,000 children went through the Montauk Project, but only a handful survived, and you're one of the survivors?
Yes, this is a very sad story, unfortunately. Yes, it was about 300,000. Less than 1% survived. And in the beginning, they would take what they called expendable people, orphans, children of drug addicts or alcoholics, foster children, street people, people that they said would not be missed. And then as things progressed and they realized that it would be helpful to have certain type of genetics, then they went into the children of military people, authorities, elite, people that had a history of a certain ancestry and genetic combinations that were conducive to working in the mind control projects. And unfortunately, I came into that category because of my ancestry.
Right. So there you have Stewart Swerdlow describing how children were recruited, firstly starting with expendables, people who, as he said, wouldn't be missed, children that were orphans and so forth. And then they focused on those with special genetics and certain ancestry, and that's how he was taken into the Montauk Project. But he was a survivor, and he did things that today are kind of like very controversial, such as being able to go back in time in an experiment and retrieve the DNA of Jesus on the cross. Obviously, that's very controversial. A lot of people would be very upset at the thought that someone could do that, but apparently that's what Stewart says he was tasked to do, and he did that. So what I just want to leave you with now is a reminder that the monthly briefing will be on today, later today at 2 p.m. It's a great way to support my channel, Exopolitics Today. The week in review and our interviews are all released for free. So the advertising from YouTube and Rumble really doesn't cover all our production costs. So we really appreciate people who subscribe to the webinars, to the monthly briefings, and you can do that through Patreon. Become a Solar patron and you get all the monthly briefings for free. So not only do you get to watch the monthly briefing later today, but you also get access to previous monthly briefings for free. And you get discounts for the major or the larger webinars I do with different guests. And we'll be doing another one on January 24th. That will be with Jorge Pabon, or JP, and with Gene Decode. And I'll be making an announcement on that at the webinar, at the monthly briefing itself. So again, thank you if you have subscribed already, or you are a Patreon member. Really appreciate your support, and I really look forward to another big year with you all, and I look forward to seeing you either this afternoon or next week. Aloha.
You have been listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Join or start a conversation in the comments. Take the time to explore the vast library of best-selling books, webinars, and podcasts by Dr. Salla. Visit exopoliticstoday.com.